The fastest way to ruin your entire cruise is usually not the big dramatic mistake everyone talks about. It is often something much smaller. Something you thought would be fine. Something you assumed would be simple. Something you put off until later. And that is exactly why these mistakes catch so many passengers out. Because they do not feel like cruise-ruining mistakes when you make them. They feel normal. They feel harmless. They feel like the kind of thing you can deal with when you get there. But on a cruise, "I'll deal with it later" can turn into extra stress, wasted time, surprise costs, missed plans, bad sleep, or one of those moments where you look at each other and say, "Why didn't we think of that before?" And this is not just another list of obvious cruise tips. These are the small traps that can sneak up on passengers before the cruise, during port days, on board, and even right at the end of the trip. Some of them can cost you money. Some can make your day harder than it needed to be. And some are the kind of mistake you only make once. So make sure you stay for the last one, because it is one of the easiest mistakes to make when you're trying to be polite. But by the time many passengers finally speak up, the cruise is almost over. So today, we're looking at the fastest ways to ruin your entire cruise, and how to stop one small mistake from becoming the thing you remember most. Number 1. Assuming port transport will be easy once you get off the ship. One of the fastest ways to ruin a cruise day is stepping off the ship and thinking, "We'll just work it out when we get there." Because sometimes, yes, it really is that easy. You walk off the ship, the town is right there, the taxis are lined up, the shuttle is waiting, and everything feels beautifully simple. But other times, you walk off the ship and suddenly realize the port is not really built for passengers who want a quick, easy day out. It might be a cargo area. It might be a long pier. It might be a shuttle-only terminal. Or it might be one of those places where the city looks close on the map, but the map has clearly never walked in the sun with sore feet and a bag full of souvenirs. This is where passengers get caught. They plan what they want to do in port, but not how they are actually getting there. They say, "We'll go to the casino," or "We'll visit the city," or "We'll head to the beach," or "There must be a taxi, Uber, Lyft, shuttle, bus, or train nearby." And sometimes there is. But sometimes the taxi line is already huge, the shuttle costs extra, the bus only runs every hour, the train station is farther away than expected, or the Uber and Lyft pickup area is not where you thought it would be. And that can change the whole day. Instead of enjoying the port, you spend the first hour standing around saying, "Where are we supposed to go?" While one person keeps refreshing the rideshare app, another person is asking a security guard, and someone else is already saying, "Maybe we should just go back to the ship." And honestly, that is not the exciting independent port day you had in mind. The smart move is to check this before you ever leave home. If there is somewhere you really want to go, a casino, beach, zoo, shopping area, museum, city center, restaurant, or local attraction, look it up before the cruise. How far is it from the cruise terminal? Can you walk it safely? Is there a cruise shuttle? Is there a taxi rank? Does Uber or Lyft actually work there? Where's the pickup area? Is there a bus stop, train station, or other local transport nearby? And most importantly, how long will it take to get back to the ship? Because getting somewhere is only half the plan. Getting back is the part that decides whether your fun little day out becomes a relaxing memory or a panicked race through traffic while you start bargaining with the universe. And this matters even more if you have mobility issues, hate long walks, get tired in the heat, or are traveling with someone who says, "I'll be fine." 5 minutes before they are absolutely not fine. The mistake is not exploring on your own. Independent port days can be fantastic. The mistake is assuming transport will magically sort itself out just because the ship has stopped. So before you step off the gangway, have a simple plan. Know where you're going. Know how you're getting there. Know how much time you need. And know how you're getting back. Because nothing ruins a cruise day faster than discovering your easy little trip away from the port has turned into a group project involving heat, confusion, no taxis, and one person dramatically saying, "I knew we should have stayed on board." Number 2. The final night suitcase mistake that catches cruisers out. This one sounds ridiculous until it happens to someone. And yes, it happens. On the final night of the cruise, a lot of passengers put their big suitcases outside the cabin door so the crew can collect them and take them down to the terminal. It is convenient, it saves you dragging bags around the ship in the morning, and it makes getting off much easier. But there is one tiny problem. Some people pack a little too well. They pack their clothes, They pack their shoes. They pack their toothpaste. They pack their makeup. They pack their chargers. They pack every single thing they need for the morning, put the suitcase outside the door, go to bed, and then wake up thinking, "Oh no," because that bag is gone. It is not sitting politely outside your door anymore. It is somewhere down in the luggage area, waiting for you after you leave the ship, and now you are standing in the cabin in pajamas, socks, or whatever you thought nobody would see, trying to work out how to walk through the ship, through customs, and into the real world without looking like you lost a fight with your own suitcase. This is one of those mistakes that can ruin the end of the cruise very quickly because disembarkation morning is already busy. Everyone is trying to get breakfast, find their group, check their bill, leave the cabin, and get off the ship on time. You do not want to add "where are my pants" to the list. And it is not just clothes. People forget shoes, glasses, medication, phone chargers, toiletries, makeup, wallets, passports, hearing aids, dentures, and even the outfit they plan to wear home. And then there is the other problem nobody thinks about. You might have your handbag, purse, backpack, or laptop bag with you, but it may already be full. So now you are trying to work out where to put your pajamas, your toiletries, your hairbrush, your makeup bag, your toothbrush, or the shoes you definitely should not have packed the night before. Suddenly, your easy disembarkation morning has turned into a very small packing crisis at 7 a.m. The fix is simple. Before you put your suitcase outside the cabin, lay out everything you need for the next morning. Your clothes, your shoes, your underwear, your medication, your glasses, your phone charger, your toiletries, your passport or ID, your wallet, your cruise card, and anything else you need before you see that suitcase again. Also, leave a little room in your carry-off bag for the things you will use that morning, like pajamas, toothbrush, makeup, hairbrush, or sleepwear. A good rule is this: if you cannot comfortably walk off the ship without it, do not pack it in the bag that goes outside. Because nothing ruins that final cruise morning faster than realizing your luggage is more ready to leave than you are. Number 3, the card mistake that can freeze your cruise spending money. This is one of those cruise mistakes that can start before you even step on the ship. You arrive at your pre-cruise hotel, tired from traveling, ready to check in, and the person at the front desk asks for a card. So you hand over your debit card. The card works. You get your room key. Everything feels normal. Then, the next day, you board the cruise and set up your onboard account. Maybe you use that same debit card again because it is the card you normally use. Still fine, until the first port day. You walk off the ship, ready to enjoy yourself. Maybe you want a taxi to the beach, lunch near the port, a few souvenirs, or a day trip you have been looking forward to. You tap your card, and something is wrong. Either the card declines, or your available balance is much lower than you expected, and that is when you realize the problem. You did not spend all that money. Some of it is being held. Hotels, cruise lines, and rental car companies can place temporary holds on your card. A hotel might hold money in case you charge things to the room. A cruise line might authorize money for onboard spending. A rental company might hold money as security. With a credit card, that hold usually sits against your credit limit. But with a debit card, it can affect your real cash. The money may still be yours, but you may not be able to use it until the hold is released, and that can take days. That is the part that can ruin the cruise feeling very quickly. You are not broke, but the money you plan to use is not available when you actually need it. So the easiest way to avoid this is to separate your cards. Use one card for anything that might place a hold, like hotels, rental cars, or your cruise account. Then, use a different card for spending during the cruise, like taxis, meals, tips, souvenirs, port days, and emergencies. That could mean using a credit card for holds and a debit card for spending. Or it could mean using one debit card for holds and a different debit card for spending. The exact setup depends on what you have, but the idea is simple. Do not let one card carry your whole holiday. If you only have one card, ask ahead. Ask the hotel or cruise line how much they may hold and how long it usually takes to release. Then make sure you have extra money somewhere else, even if it is a small emergency fund, cash, or another account you can access. Because the real mistake is not using a debit card. The real mistake is using the same card for every hold, every payment, and every bit of spending money, then being shocked when part of your money is suddenly not available. So before you leave home, decide which card is for holds and which card is for spending. Because nothing ruins a cruise faster than reaching your first port, ready for a brilliant day out, and finding out your spending money is technically still there, but you cannot actually use it. If any of these have helped already, please click the like button and keep watching, because the next few mistakes are even easier to make. Number 4. Booking a cheap pre-cruise hotel in the wrong location. A cheap hotel before your cruise can look like a win. Until the morning of the cruise. That is when you find out the hotel is nowhere near the port, breakfast is not included, the shuttle is full, Uber is surging, and the front desk has the helpful energy of someone who has already answered the same question 200 times. This mistake catches people because they only look at the room price. They do not check the real cost of staying there. How far is it from the airport? How far is it from the cruise terminal? Is there food nearby? Is there an elevator? Can you manage your luggage easily? Is there a shuttle? And does it need to be booked ahead? Because saving $40 on a hotel is not much of a bargain if you spend the next morning stressed, hungry, dragging suitcases, and paying half of that saving back in transport. For older cruisers, the location matters even more. A hotel can be close to the port on paper, but still be awkward if the pickup area is poor, the walk is too long, or the morning traffic is a mess. So before you book, do not just ask, "Is this hotel cheap?" Ask, "Will this hotel make cruise morning easy?" Because your cruise should not start with luggage, confusion, and someone saying, "I told you we should have booked the other one." Number 5. Not checking if your port day lands on the worst possible date. This mistake is sneaky because the port looks perfect when you book the cruise. Then you arrive and realize the place you wanted to visit is closed, or the shops open late, or the buses are on a holiday schedule, or the beach road is packed because there is a local festival, school break, or 3 other cruise ships in port. And now, your one day in that port has turned into, well, now what? On a normal holiday, you might just go tomorrow. On a cruise, there may not be a tomorrow. The ship leaves, and that port is done. So before you sail, check the actual date you will be there. Look up public holidays, Sundays, big events, local festivals, and opening days for the 1 or 2 places you really care about. You do not need to plan the whole day like a military operation. Just check that your main idea is actually possible, because nothing ruins a port stop faster than walking off the ship ready for a brilliant day out, only to discover the thing you came for has chosen that exact day to be closed. Number 6. Leaving your cruise card, ID, or port contact details in the cabin. This one can ruin a port day very quickly. You walk off the ship thinking, "I'll only be gone for a little while." Then you realize you left something important in the cabin. Your cruise card, your photo ID, the port agent details, the ship's emergency contact number, or the piece of paper that tells you what time you actually need to be back on board. And suddenly, your relaxing port day has a problem. Your cruise card is usually what gets you back on the ship. In some ports, you may also need photo ID to get through the port area. And if something goes wrong while you are ashore, the port agent details can be extremely important. Because if your phone dies, your bag gets lost, your taxi is late, or you end up in the wrong place, you do not want the only useful information sitting safely in your cabin where it is helping absolutely nobody. So before you leave the ship, check the basics. Cruise card, ID, phone, emergency contact details, port agent information, and the correct all-aboard time. It sounds boring, but it matters, because nothing ruins a port day faster than standing at the gate, looking at the ship, and realizing the thing you need to get back on board is currently enjoying a quiet afternoon in your cabin. And coming up, we've still got the mistakes that can mess with your phone, your medication, your cabin, and even the very end of your cruise. Number 7. Taking a private excursion without a ship time return plan. Private excursions can be brilliant. They can be cheaper, smaller, more flexible, and sometimes much better than the cruise line tours. But here is where people get into trouble. They book the tour, see the return time, and think, that should be fine. Should be fine is not a plan. Because cruise ships run on ship time, not whatever time your phone decides to show in port. And if the tour gets stuck in traffic, the driver runs late, the road closes, the weather changes, or everyone spends too long at the beach. The ship is not going to wait just because your snorkeling guide seemed confident. Cruise line excursions usually have a direct link back to the ship. Private tours may not. That does not mean you should never book them. It just means you need to be smarter. Before you book, ask what time the tour returns, how far it is from the port, What happens if traffic is bad, and whether the operator regularly handles cruise passengers. Then build in a proper buffer. Not 10 minutes, not, we'll run if we have to. A real buffer. Because a private excursion should feel like a fun day out, not the opening scene of a travel disaster documentary. So enjoy the private tours if they suit you. Just make sure the plan gets you back to the ship early enough to walk on board calmly. Not sprint down the pier while strangers film your cardio workout. Number 8. Not preparing your phone before the cruise. Your phone is not just a phone anymore. On a cruise, it can be your boarding pass, cruise app, camera, map, airline update, hotel confirmation, rideshare app, emergency contact list, and the place where you stored every important thing because you were definitely going to remember it later. So if your phone is not ready, your trip can get messy very fast. The mistake is waiting until something goes wrong. You get to the terminal and the app will not load. You reach port and your battery is already dying. You try to take a photo and your storage is full. You need a hotel address and your email will not open. Or you are standing outside a cruise terminal trying to find a rideshare pickup point while your phone is sitting on 3% battery like it has also decided to disembark emotionally. Before you leave home, do a phone cleanup. Clear storage. Update the cruise app. Log in before embarkation day. Screenshot your boarding pass, hotel details, flight details, travel insurance, port information, and anything else you might need without internet. Pack a charger in your carry-on, not just your checked bag. Bring a power bank if you use your phone a lot. And make sure the person traveling with you has the important details too, just in case your phone disappears, dies, breaks, or decides this is the perfect time to do a software update. Because the phone mistake that ruins a cruise is not always one big thing. It is usually a lot of tiny things you meant to do later. And later always seems to arrive when you are hot, tired, and standing somewhere with terrible signal. Number 9. Leaving the ship while your valuables are still locked in the safe. This is one of those mistakes that sounds impossible until the final morning of the cruise. Because disembarkation morning is not calm. People are tired. Suitcases are everywhere. Breakfast is rushed. Elevators are full. Announcements are happening. Someone is looking for their cruise card. Someone else is saying, "Are you sure this is our group?" And in the middle of all that, it is very easy to forget one small thing. The cabin safe. That little safe is brilliant during the cruise. It keeps your passport, cash, jewelry, wallet, spare cards, medication, or important documents out of the way. But on the last morning, if you do not physically open it and check it, those valuables can stay behind while you walk off the ship. And once you are off, getting them back is not always simple. The ship is turning around for the next passengers. Crew are cleaning cabins, new people are boarding. And you might already be in a taxi, at the airport, or halfway through security when you suddenly think, "Oh no, the safe." So before you leave the cabin for the final time, open the safe. Look inside. Use your hand too, because small things can hide in the corners. Check for passports, cash, cards, jewelry, watches, medication, documents, spare glasses, or anything you locked away just to keep it safe. And make this your rule. The cabin door does not close for the final time until the safe is open and empty. Because nothing ruins the end of a cruise faster than realizing the safest place you put. Your valuables has now become the hardest place to get them back from. Number 10. Packing medication in a pill organizer without proof of what it is. Pill organizers are great on a cruise. They save space, they keep your tablet sorted, and they stop you standing in a tiny cabin every morning opening 6 different bottles like you are running a floating pharmacy. But for travel, especially international travel, loose pills can create problems. If your medication is sitting in a weekly pill box with no labels, no packaging, and no proof of what it is, you may have a hard time explaining it at customs, airport security, or even to the ship's medical team if you get sick. And this matters even more if you take regular medication every day. Blood pressure tablets, heart medication, diabetes medication, pain medication, sleeping tablets, anxiety medication. Anything prescription only or controlled should not just be traveling around loose with a cheerful Monday to Sunday lid. You can still use the pill organizer once you're settled on board. But when you travel, keep important medication in its original labeled packaging and bring a copy of your prescription or a medication list from your doctor or pharmacist. That way, if someone asks what it is, you're not stuck saying, It's the little white one I take after breakfast. Because nothing ruins a trip faster than the medication you need becoming the thing that causes the problem. Number 11. Booking the cheapest cabin without checking the hidden problems. A cheap cabin can feel like a win. You find a low price, book it quickly, and think, great, more money for the fun stuff. And sometimes that works perfectly. But sometimes the cheapest cabin is cheap for a reason. It might be under the pool deck, near the elevators, beside a crew door, across from the laundry, under the buffet, close to a nightclub, or in a spot where people walk past at all hours. And once you are on board, that bargain can start to feel a lot less clever. Because saving a bit of money does not feel so wonderful when chairs are scraping above your head at 5 a.m., people are talking outside your door, or something nearby keeps banging, humming, or thumping all night. Cabin location can also matter if you get motion sick. A lower midship cabin usually feels steadier than a cabin right at the front or high up on the ship. So before you book, look at the deck plan. Check what is above you, below you, beside you, and across from you. And if you have mobility issues, check how far the cabin is from the elevators, dining areas, theater, and places you will use every day. The mistake is not booking a cheap cabin. The mistake is booking a cabin without checking what comes with it. Because the wrong cabin can turn a good deal into a week of bad sleep, long walks, and regret. And if you think the worst mistakes only happen at the start of a cruise, wait until these final few, because some of them hit right when you think the trip is nearly over. Number 12. Booking a flight home too early on disembarkation day. This mistake looks fine on paper. The ship says it arrives at 6 a.m., your flight leaves at 10 a.m., and you think, perfect, plenty of time. Except the ship arriving at 6 does not mean you are walking off at 6. The ship still has to be cleared. Passengers have to be called by group. Elevators are packed. Luggage has to be found. Customs can take time. Taxis and rideshare can be busy. And if several ships are in port at once, the airport may be full of people who all had the same brilliant idea. And that is when your easy morning flight starts looking like a bad maths problem. It gets worse if the ship docks late. There is a medical delay, weather slows things down, luggage takes longer, or the port is not close to the airport. So, before you book the flight home, do not just look at the ship arrival time. Look at when passengers usually get off, how far the airport is, how busy that airport gets on cruise days, and what time the cruise line recommends for flights. Because nothing ruins the end of a cruise faster than spending the last morning dragging luggage through a terminal, checking the time every 30 seconds, and realizing your plane is much more ready to leave than you are. Number 13. Letting your phone connect to roaming at sea. This is one of those cruise mistakes that can quietly cost you a fortune. You get on board, everything is exciting, and your phone is still working. So you check messages, scroll for a minute, maybe upload a photo, and think nothing of it. Then later, the bill arrives. And suddenly your phone has had a more expensive cruise than you did. The problem is that once the ship is at sea, your phone may connect to maritime roaming if mobile data is still on. That is not the same as normal land coverage, and it can be very expensive. What catches people is that they think they are safe because they are near land, in port, or connected to the ship's Wi-Fi. Then the ship leaves, the phone switches networks, and the charges start building in the background. So the simple rule is this. Before the ship sails, put your phone in airplane mode, then turn Wi-Fi back on if you want to use the cruise app or a paid internet package. And if you use your phone in port, make sure you switch back to airplane mode before the ship leaves again. Because nothing ruins that relaxed cruise feeling faster than getting home and discovering your phone bill has brought back a souvenir you definitely did not ask for. Number 14. Not checking your onboard account before the cruise ends. This is one of those mistakes that can turn a relaxed final night into a very annoying surprise. All cruise long, your cruise card makes spending feel easy. A coffee here, a drink there, a photo, a shop purchase, maybe a shore excursion, a specialty restaurant, or something you thought was already included. Then the final bill arrives, and suddenly you are staring at a charge you do not recognize. Maybe a drink was added to the wrong account. Maybe a prepaid restaurant showed up again. Maybe a towel charge appeared. Maybe a package, discount, or onboard credit did not apply the way you expected. And now you have a choice. Fix it while you're still on the ship or deal with it later from home. And trust me, onboard is usually much easier. When you are still on the ship, guest services can look at the charge, check the system, Speak to the right department and fix mistakes while everyone involved is still there. Once you get home, it can mean phone calls, emails, waiting on hold, explaining everything again, and trying to prove what happened after the cruise is already over. So do not wait until the last morning when everyone else has suddenly discovered their bill too. Check your onboard account during the cruise. A quick look every day or two can save you a lot of stress. And if something looks wrong, ask about it early. Not angrily, not dramatically, just early. Because nothing ruins the end of a cruise faster than walking off the ship with a charge you should have questioned while you were still on board. Number 15. Waiting until the last day to report a problem. This mistake usually starts with someone trying to be polite. Something goes wrong, but they do not want to make a fuss. The cabin is noisy. The air conditioning is weak. The bathroom has a strange smell. The dining table is in a bad spot. The same drink keeps getting charged wrong. A staff member is snappy. A perk they paid for has not appeared. Or something just keeps happening that makes the cruise feel less enjoyable than it should. So they let it go. Then they let the next thing go. Then one more thing happens, and by the end of the cruise, they are not relaxed anymore. They are annoyed, disappointed, and carrying a mental list of everything they wish they had said earlier. That is the trap. If you report a problem early, there is still time to fix it. Guest services might correct a charge. The dining room may be able to move your table. Housekeeping might fix a cabin issue. A manager can speak to the right department. Or at the very least, the problem is recorded while you are still on board. But if you wait until the final night, the cruise is basically over. Your suitcase is packed, the bill is closing, everyone is busy with disembarkation, and the crew has very little time left to help. So, do not suffer in silence for a week and then unload everything on the last day. Speak up early. Be polite. Be clear. Say what happened, what you need fixed, and give them a chance to sort it out while there is still cruise left to enjoy. Because nothing ruins a cruise faster than spending 7 days quietly fuming. Then finally saying something when the only thing left to do is leave. So if even one of these made you think, I need to check that before my next cruise, please click the like button. And if you are planning your first cruise, or you still want to avoid the mistakes most beginners only learn the hard way, watch the video on the end screen next. 50 things you need to know before your first cruise. It is packed with the kind of tips that can save you stress before you even step on board. And if you do not have time to watch it now, save it to your watch later list so you have it ready before your next sailing. Happy cruising, and bye for now.